Hello, brave, beautiful, beloved soul friends. In this video, I explore responding to a comment I received from a beloved soul friend. They asked, "Hi, Kristin. How would you go about the co-consciousness approach if you and your others are all still in a very bad mindset with lots of flashbacks and traumas reoccurring? I've been meaning to go back to seeing my therapist soon, but it seems like right now we're all just trapped. How did you manage to start healing when there seems to be so much to come back and overwhelm and smother us in the aspect of managing to live and function with having DID? Thank you." So this video is in response to this question. Thank you so much, beloved soul friend, for asking this question. And thank you everyone for checking in and tuning in with my content here as we explore the unconscious mind from the inside out. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for being you. So how to embrace this co-consciousness approach and how to start healing when things are just feeling impossible, when life is bringing you great hardships and there's separation inside of you. How do you start healing? How do you approach the healing journey of life? Thank you so much for tuning in, soul friends. It is a blessed, sacred privilege to connect with you and share this sacred healing space. So the absolute core of healing involves love and presence. And to bring it into a simple, summarized clarity regarding the neuroscientific particulars about why this approach works is because our neurobiology is presence. Our body can only be in one present moment at a time. It's here, it's now, it's here, it's now, it's here, it's now. Our body is not over there, our body is not over there. But when there's separations within the neurobiological projection of data, our body will not understand that it's actually only right here. And so when we can focus on presence, we can help increase regulation. Regulation is important. We have a few different features of regulation. One of them involves brain waves. And so when our brain waves are dysregulated, our thoughts will either be racing, and it's just this constant barrage and intrusive thoughts and racing thoughts and impulses and urges, and it feels like mania, and it just feels blah, 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 and it's panicky, and there's overcoupling, and there's panic attacks, and there's all of this really fast, high-paced stuff going on. The other end of the spectrum with dysregulation of brain waves is you feel like you're in a dream. And you feel like you're inside of your reality, but you don't really have access to the outside world. It feels like your entire reality is inside of you, and physicality is not even real. It feels like you're in a daydream, and you're sleepwalking, and there's all of this activity in your inner world, but you can't really connect with the external world around you. So those are both types of brainwave dysregulation. And focusing on presence can help bring you to a regulated state of brainwaves. And there's other healing modalities that can be explored to help regulate brainwaves, but a lot of times we don't have access to that, right? Like maybe you can't afford neurofeedback or something that would use machinery to help regulate your brainwaves. And so presence helps to bring regulation. Another aspect of regulation is nervous system. And so we have three kind of core nervous systems. We've got our central nervous system, which is our brain and like our spine and stuff, like this core thing. It's the central feature of the stuff. And then we have our peripheral nervous system, which is made of our autonomic nervous system and our somatic nervous system. And so that includes, somatic is like, this stuff, like when you touch something, signals go here, and then it eventually travels to your brain and things like that. And then your autonomic nervous system is how your vagus nerve is managing things up here and down there. And so the vagus nerve has all these different states to its nervous system regulation. And one big thing that our autonomic nervous system does is help us feel safe and socially engaged. And so there's 5 core features of the autonomic nervous system. The middle 3 states are healthy and regulated with ease, And then the two ends of this spectrum of autonomic nervous system regulation are where there's dysregulation or dis-ease and social disengagement. And those are traumatic responses. And so we have our central line, which is our ventral vagal state. And that's when you're socially engaged. You're like, hi, how's it going? What's up? I'm just here and I'm socially engaged. And then next to it, going up the spectrum, you have a state of competition and you're like socially engaged, but you're like a little bit high energy and you're like, haha, like I'm going to play the soccer game and I'm going to win it. So you're socially engaged and you're regulated and you're feeling safe, but you're feeling a little edgy. And then one down from that middle state is a state of intimacy, and you're socially engaged, but in like kind of a flirty way, and you kind of just want to find someone to cuddle with. So those are the three core states of autonomic nervous system regulation. But then you have your two ends, which are traumatic responses. Okay, so the competition one is a combination of ventral vagal and sympathetic chain ganglia, or sympathetic chain. And so you have your ventral vagal state, your socially engaged state, and your sympathetic nervous system, but they're interacting together. Okay, so the center state is just ventral vagal, and then there's ventral vagal and sympathetic interacting, and then you go up one more on the spectrum, and it's just sympathetic. So your sympathetic nervous system is operating without the ventral vagal. And that's where you get a fight-flight response. And your entire neurophysiology is literally preparing itself to fight or to run. And so your blood flow changes, your muscles tense up, your heart starts to pump more blood, and your body is literally preparing to defend itself or to run as fast as it can for as long as it can. And so the entire neurophysiology of your brain and your body shift, and that's a state of dysregulation. And you can get really, like, that's a high stress state. Okay, so then you got your middle state, right? You're, hi, what's up? I'm socially engaged. That's your ventral vagal. And then you go down one, and you're kind of just feeling like you want to cuddle something. That is a combination of your ventral vagal and your dorsal vagal interacting with one another. But then you go down the spectrum one more, and it's just the dorsal vagal engaging without access to the ventral vagal. So it's the dorsal vagus nerve, dorsal vagal branch of the vagus nerve, dorsal branch of the vagus nerve, however you want to say it, engaging without access to the ventral vagal. And that is where you get a fold response, and the body literally feigns death. And that's where you get things like oxygen deprivation and loss of consciousness and dissociative blackouts and things like that, okay? So the one over here and the one over here are where there's dysregulation, okay? And so the autonomic nervous system is about how we feel safe and how we feel like we're able to engage with ourselves and the world around us. And it affects our facial muscles. Like, you can tell if you're socially engaged by how your facial muscle moves. And so if you're able to be responsive like this to the world around you, then your nervous system is fairly regulated. But if you're like you can't smile and everything's like shock, or you're just constantly like this and you don't really know how to smile because it just doesn't feel very natural, that can be a sign of autonomic nervous system dysregulation, because the regulation of your nervous system affects how your cranial nerves engage, which affect your facial features. So if you feel like you're just not able to smile really big, and if you're not able to get like crinkles in your face because you can just smile so big, that could be a sign of chronic nervous system dysregulation. Just one potential option of what that could be. Okay, so presence is the first step for healing, okay? Why is that important? Because our body needs regulation to thrive. When our bodies are in a chronic state of nervous system dysregulation, if it's in a dorsal collapse, you can literally experience oxygen deprivation. Chronic oxygen deprivation, where your whole brain and your body are working without proper flow of oxygen. And that can cause all kinds of health issues, physically and mentally and emotionally and spiritually and energetically and all the things. So it's important to encourage presence, because when we encourage presence, we can help to manually regulate any dysregulation that might be happening. So the dysregulation is happening in the body beyond awareness. You're not really, you don't wake up and you're like, oh, okay, I recognize that this is brainwave dysregulation. Like, unless you've learned how to do that, it's just not something our bodies naturally tell us. And so there could be dysregulation and we're not totally aware of it. So bringing awareness to it really helps, and to be able to recognize, okay, like my muscles are really tense and I'm having some racing thoughts and I feel like very antsy and agitated and restless. This must be a sign of some dysregulation in my body and or brain. Okay, so just kind of tuning in with that, and so that's the first step. Okay, so presence. How do you do it? How do you be present? What does that actually mean? How do you get there if your body is not naturally allowing for presence? Okay, so there's a few different things you can do. One of the really powerful things is to focus attention towards gentle stimulus. And I have a gift for you that's going to help with this. If you go to kristinwindsor.com/gifts, I've created a free download for you guys, a gift of love from my heart to yours. It's called Brain Rewiring Playbook. It's a playbook. It's like a workbook, but a whole lot more fun, okay? Because healing is allowed to be gentle and loving, okay? So the playbook walks you through this process of using gentle stimulus to help you rewire your neural networks, which are contributing to the experience of not being present. The nervous system gets dysregulated because it's responding to the activation of implicit memory systems housed in neural networks. And so when we can help rewire the neural networks, we help to rewire the regulation of our nervous systems, okay? So focusing attention towards gentle stimulus is one way to very powerfully help with presence. And I believe the playbook talks about this, but one thing you can do is focus your energetic attention towards narrating or descriptively describing objective observations of present moments, okay? And it's very important that it follows this specific route for it to increase presence in a way that actually produces healing. Okay, so let me walk you through this just real briefly here. So practicing presence means objective observation and detailed description of present moments in your personal first person, first tense reality, okay? So that means objective observations. It means it can't be subjective. For example, if you say, it's a beautiful day today, that's not objective. That's biased. There's a subjective thing in it. What if it's not a beautiful day from someone else's perspective? So objective observations means there's no perspective in it. It's completely objective. You don't insert any perspectives at all. Completely objective. There's no summaries. There's no opinions. There's nothing like that, okay? So objective observation with detailed description, okay? And so what you want to do is notice very specific things about your immediate moment. And so, for example, if you say, the sky is blue, or I'm seeing a blue sky, that's pretty generic. What if you can get more specific? I'm seeing a blue sky and there are two clouds and one of them is small and one of them is big, and I see a bird that's flying in between the two clouds, and while I'm looking at the sky I can also feel my feet on the ground, and I feel a breeze that's blowing on my skin, and I can see this, and I can hear this, and I can feel this. And so what you want to do is descriptively describe in a very objective way different sensations you're experiencing in the immediate present moment. Okay? Does that make sense? And then you want to make sure it's first person and present tense. So it's not, 5 minutes ago I saw a really cool cloud in the sky. You're not in that moment anymore. That moment is done and gone. What's happening right here, right now, in your immediate reality? So that means you don't look 2 seconds into the future and you don't look 2 seconds into the past, okay? It has to very specifically be the immediate moment, because this moment here is not the moment that was right there. And now this moment here is not the moment that was right there. And now this moment here is not the moment that was right there. Every moment is new. Every moment is new. What's happening here is not the moment that happened when I started to snap my fingers. Okay? So practicing presence means presence. You don't look 30 seconds into the future. You don't look an hour into the future. You don't look a day into the future. You don't look 5 seconds ago. You don't look at what happened 10 minutes ago. You don't look at what happened an hour ago. You don't look at what happened last week. And when your mind goes there, you just redirect yourself towards presence. Redirect yourself towards presence. Redirect yourself towards presence. And then you do it again. You go, oh, okay, I'm present, I'm present, I'm present, I'm present. Presence, 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 presence. And yeah, it takes practice. Your brain's not going to be like, oh, okay, this is really easy and I'm like really good at just being totally present. No, it's going to take a little work. But this is the work that pays off. This is the work that pays off. I cannot emphasize this enough. There's a lot of healing journey stuff. There's a lot of options for what to do and how to heal and blah, 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 blah. But this, above everything, is the healing journey work that pays off. Okay? It's worth investing in times a million. Trust me. Trust me, it's worth investing in. Okay, so practicing presence means objective observation with detailed description of your immediate present moment in first person present tense. Okay, it's not this happened 5 minutes ago. It's this is happening right now. This is happening right now. I sense this right now. I see this right now. I feel this right now. And you can stay with one piece of stimulus and just describe it again and again. Like, I see a rock on the ground. I see a rock on the ground. I see a rock on the ground. I see a red rock on the ground. I see a red rough rock on the ground. Or you can shift it and be like, okay, I see a rock on the ground and then I see a tree right there and then I see another tree in the distance, but the leaves on that one are different from the leaves on this one. They're both a similar shade of green, but the way that the leaves are coming out is kind of, this one's a little bit more like flat and like pokey, and the other one seems a little bit more bushy. Like, you want to get as detailed as you can with what your senses are doing in the immediate present moment. Okay, and so the gentle stimulus, the brain rewiring playbook I have for you guys walks you through a bit of that process regarding putting your energetic focus towards gentle stimulus, and it helps you rewire the neural networks that are provoking things like dissociation and traumatic flashbacks and things like that. So you can actually heal the core causality of traumatic flashbacks without exploring the traumatic flashbacks, okay? You do not need to dive into traumatic memories to heal them. Isn't that wonderful? You do not ever need to dive into your traumatic memories to create a great expanse of healing. And once a great expanse of healing is achieved, maybe then you go back and you complete the narratives of past things. But the majority, if not all, of trauma recovery and healing any kind of dissociation or flashbacks or things like that involves presence. Because when you're present, when it's hard to be present, you're rewiring the neural networks causing the dissociation and the flashbacks. Because when you're having a hard time being present, there's activation of neural networks housing pain. But when you focus on presence, those neural networks are learning to connect with each other so that things heal on their own. When you are present, your brain and your body heal itself. I cannot emphasize this enough, soul friends. This was the most radical, profound discovery of my lifetime. When you are fully present, your brain and body heal itself. You don't have to go into the painful experiences of the past for that memory data to heal. Because all the traumatic flares and things like that, it's just data in your memory systems. But when you redirect yourself towards presence, that stuff heals on its own. It learns how to connect better on its own. All that's happening when you're having a dissociative episode or a traumatic flashback is there's an activation of data within the cells of your brain and your body who don't have really healthy connections with each other. They might be disconnected, or there might be too many connections and they're like, I'm getting agitated here, I got no space to breathe. And so when you choose presence, especially with this specific route of presence that I'm describing here, with the objective observation of detailed description of immediate moments, especially redirecting towards gentle stimulus, every time you do that, you're rewiring the neural networks that are causing the dissociation and the traumatic flashbacks. Isn't that amazing? You're actually rewiring the core causality neurobiologically of this stuff by being present. Okay? So please feel free to grab that gift I have for you guys. You can go kristinwindsor.com/gifts, and it's called Brain Rewiring Playbook. Playbook, because the healing journey gets to be light. You get to be light with your life, beloveds. You get to be light with your life. It might not feel that way at first, but you'll get there. You will. You will, my darlings. You will. I know you will. I know you will. So, how to work on this co-consciousness stuff and embrace the healing journey when things are just feeling tough. Like there's just all kinds of flares, there's all kinds of stuff coming up. Life is not necessarily providing you expansive space to just focus on healing and stuff, okay? So the first one is presence. Presence, 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 presence. When you do this, you're helping your brain and your body experience better regulation, and you're rewiring the neural networks that are actually generating the core causality of all of these battles, including the disconnection between your parts of self. Okay? You can find out a little bit more about that in a recent video about the neuroscience of shifts and switches of consciousness, and I kind of explain a little bit about how separation between neurobiological data is projected into experiences of parts, and that's why parts feel separate. Parts of consciousness themselves are never separate. It's just the neurobiological projections impacting their sense of reality that's making it feel like separate experiences. And so when we focus on healing the neurobiology, then our parts can communicate and collaborate and feel more unity within themselves and with life. Okay? So, presence, 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 presence. And it's great because you can practice this anywhere, anytime, no matter what you're doing. So if life is really busy, you can still practice this. While you're driving, I feel my hand on the steering wheel. I feel my hand on the steering wheel. I can feel my hand on the steering wheel. I am noticing the feeling of my hand on the steering wheel. And connect with that sense. Connect your mind and your body manually. Okay? And you can narrate this internally through your thoughts. You can narrate this out loud. I am feeling my hand on the steering wheel. I am seeing the road in front of me. I am noticing this sign. Describe what's happening. Use your mind to describe what's happening in your body and create this manual connection. I promise you're doing some profound rewiring when you do that. Practice this in the shower. Practice this while you're eating. I am lifting my spoon. I see the spoon as it approaches my mouth. The spoon is going inside of my mouth. I am now feeling my tongue and my this, and it's tasting this, and it feels like this, and I'm noticing this flavor, and I'm noticing this texture, and I'm noticing the sound of my teeth as they chew. Okay? So practice this all the time. You don't have to be you don't have to go into a corner and be like, okay, I'm going to super mega hardcore focus on healing now. It can be this gentle practice you use all the time. When you wake up in the morning, I am noticing my eyes slowly open. I am noticing a feeling. I am noticing this. And make sure you're redirecting towards what your senses are feeling. Don't describe your thoughts. You can, and if you find that helps you, then please do that. But mostly, describing thoughts helps feed those neural networks. So it's actually a lot more helpful to focus on narrating the sensory descriptors. So again, if you find that it helps you and you feel like it helps you have more connection inside, then absolutely narrate what's happening in your thoughts, okay? Maybe play around and see how it makes you feel in your body and in your mind, okay? Find what works for you. But oftentimes, when we narrate our thoughts, we're just feeding the neural networks generating those thoughts, and then we're less present, okay? So in general, I would really advise focusing on narrating sensory stuff, but maybe play around and see how it feels to narrate your thoughts. If that helps you have more connection with yourself, then explore that, okay? Do what feels best for you. When you wake up in the morning, notice, I feel the covers on my body. I feel my foot. I feel my hand. I notice my eyes slowly opening. I see this. I see my ceiling. And be as detailed as you can. I'm noticing textured popcorn bubbles on my ceiling, and there's a white color, and I'm hearing the sound of a ticking noise, and that's the sound of my ticking clock. And I look over and I see the clock and the hand is on. Like, narrate each thing as you go. Connect your mind and your body manually by bringing yourself into deeper presence with the immediate moment through objective observation, detailed description, first person, present tense. Okay? And again, you can find this brain rewiring playbook for free, a gift of love from my heart to yours, at kristinwindsor.com/gifts. And that link is in the video description below here as well. Okay? So that's the very best place to start. All right? Presence, 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 presence. The second piece of what you want to do is practice on love. And love is a transformative energy, because what's happening in our neurobiological data is everything is vibrating at a frequency of love. Our implicit memories, which is where all the stuff of our personal life experience comes from, are vibrating at frequencies of love. So our unconscious mind has these different layers of intel according to my diagrams of consciousness. We've got our attachment systems, and then we've got our memory systems, and then we've got our meaning-making associations. And all of them are data stored within neural networks in our brain and our body. And they are what create personal life experience. And so any type of personal experience, which is the way that your personal self interacts with your own being and the world, is being generated from this neurobiological data being activated in response to various forms of stimulus. Okay? And so this neurobiological data is founded on vibrational frequencies of love. Vibrational frequencies. What's that all about, right? It's the vibration. You can think of it as like a vibrational identity to a piece of data. Okay, so let's say you've got an energetic piece of data and it has this sense of identity and it feels really great about itself and it just feels like it can conquer the world and it enjoys life and feels completely deserving of every chance to thrive. And then you've got like this other piece of data and it's like, oh my God, what is the point of anything? They're vibrating at different frequencies, and that impacts the messages that they carry. Does that make sense? It's kind of a little example. So all of the different cells inside of our brain and our body vibrate at different frequencies, and that affects the messages they carry and or the way that they carry those messages, which is the details of what they hold and how they connect that with other cells. Okay, so they've got a message that they carry, and then that message connects with other messages. And those two particulars create the vibrational frequency of these cells in our neural networks that create our unconscious mind. Okay, just kind of a little summary of that whole thing. So, when we are healing anything, literally anything, it could be recovering from a breakup, it could be recovering from a long night out. It could be recovering from decades of severe trauma. It could be recovering from literally any feature of personal experience. Okay? We restore ourselves when we pour love into our beings, because 100% of our personal experience comes from the activation of neurobiological data vibrating at a frequency of love. Okay? And so a couple little notes about this vibrational frequency of love stuff. Like, what the heck, right? Weird stuff, bro. What you even trying to tell me right now? So, a scientific experiment was done a little while ago, and this really incredibly awesome dude was like, I wonder about the molecular structures of water droplets, and I wonder what would happen if I spoke love to some and I was like really awful to others, and like I wonder what that would do to them. And so he looked at it and he spoke love. He's like, I love you, you're worthy, you're amazing, you're fantastic, I adore you, you are a treasure to this world, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. And the formation of those water droplets, and I'm talking microscopic, like you can't just see it from looking at the naked eye, I'm talking under a microscope, super teeny, tiny little details. The shape of those molecular structures were like the most geometric miracles you've ever seen, like the most complex snowflakes you've ever seen. Just the shapes of them were just dynamic and they were perfect. The symmetry of them were absolutely perfect. Every little thing lined up. The geometric symmetry of the complex design of this molecular water droplet. I'm saying that molecular? Science, right? The teeny tiny shape of this water droplet was perfect geometric symmetry with expansive complex detail, and it was gorgeous. It was beautiful. It would just entrance you to look at it. You're like, how is that even just naturally existing? It's so gorgeous. And then he went over to these other water droplets, bless their little souls, and he was like, I hate you, you're awful, I abhor you. And the shape of those teeny tiny details of that water droplet were hideous. They were distorted and disfigured and dark. Like these had like bright colors and they were white and like these crystal and like these little like light, just these beautiful, and here it's like this dark, murky, like it's like when you've been painting for a long time and there's like so many colors mixed into the water where you've been washing your brush off. It just looks hideous. It's like a goopy green brown or something. And you're just like, I'm glad that that's not what my painting looks like, because that's just bleh. Like, it was like that. And they were disfigured and distorted, and there was no symmetry, and there was no cool geometry, and it was just this mess. And so words hold vibrations. Feelings hold vibrations. And the vibrational frequencies within our experiences affect how our cells experience the messages they carry and the way that those messages connect with other cells. So that's one little insight about this whole vibrational frequency of love in our unconscious mind thing. The words and feelings, the vibrational frequencies that we encounter within our experience directly affect how our cells within our brain and our body throughout our neural networks hold data and share that message with other cells. Okay? And vibrations of love are beautiful and wonder-filled, and vibrations lacking love are not so pleasant. Okay, so this is the other feature I want to explore. There's this spectrum of vibrational frequency. And here's the thing. Every piece of personal experience vibrates at a frequency of love. Every single component of our personal experience involves vibrational frequencies of love. So stimulus comes in, or maybe we think a thought and stimulus is happening inside of us, and the stimulus goes through and activates data within our unconscious mind, and it goes through these complex translative processes, and then boom, it generates this experiential element of personal life experience. All the data in our unconscious mind is vibrating at a frequency of love, because all of the subconscious timelines stem from attachment systems which develop through vibrations of love. Along this spectrum, though, there's high vibrational frequencies of love and there's low vibrational frequencies of love. High vibrational frequencies of love feel like love. Everything feels loving, everything feels beautiful, everything feels safe. There's this sense of compassionate connection and loving support, and you feel important, and you feel valued, and you feel worthwhile, and you feel celebrated, and you feel safe, and you feel secure, and you feel provided for, and you feel protected, and you feel super free and just super expansive, and just feel so allowed to be exactly who you are, and you feel like there's so much space in the world to be who you are, and you feel like you trust yourself, and you trust others, and you trust life, and you trust the world. Those are high vibrational frequencies of love. When our attachment needs are not met, and there's disintegration within subconscious data, or pieces of data lack healthy connections with each other because they don't have connections, or there's too many connections and they're just getting aggressively up in each other's space, then the vibrational frequency of love within our unconscious mind vibrates very low. And that's when personal life experience can feel like anxiety or stress or worry or paranoia or tension or fear or insomnia or panic attacks or traumatic stress or dissociation or distrust or fear, or all of these different things come up. And it's all because vibrational frequencies within our unconscious mind are vibrating very low because of unfulfilled attachment needs, which has caused disintegration or lack of healthy connections within our subconscious data. Okay, so only love is real. And it's the same way that only heat is real. Coldness is not a real thing. This trips me out every time I say it, I swear. Coldness isn't real. You're like, what on earth are you talking about? I get cold and I feel shivers and I got these goosebumps and then I'm like, oh my god, I need to grab a jacket. Like, what are you saying right now? Like, of course coldness is real, Kristin. You nutso? The experience of coldness is real. The vibrational frequency of coldness does not exist. The feeling of coldness is simply an energetic space lacking vibrations of heat. There's hot and there's not hot. Coldness is not a vibrational frequency that exists. It doesn't exist. It's not real. Anything that feels like coldness is simply an energetic space lacking larger quantities of vibrational frequencies of heat. And it's the exact same thing with personal life experience. Anything that does not feel or look like love within personal experience, like a sense of distrust or panic attacks or worry or paranoia or self-doubt or self-criticism or self-judgment or distrust in other people, or even a sense of codependency and you don't feel safe unless you're with this other person, or obsessive compulsions, or anything that does not look or feel like love within personal experience. It's just an indicator of neurobiological data within the unconscious mind vibrating at a very low frequency of love. But it's still a vibration of love, and this is important to keep in mind. It's the most profound radical reframe of a lifetime. Okay? Any part of your personal experience is a vibration of love. It just might be a really low vibration of love. Okay? So, all of our personal experience comes from the activation of vibrational frequencies of love within the unconscious mind based on neurobiological data as cells in our brain's 100 trillion neural networks and expansive other neural networks throughout the ganglia and neural networks in our body are being activated as pieces of stimulus are undergoing processes and translative processes to become experiential elements of personal life experience. So all of personal life experience involves vibrational frequencies of love. Okay? And the energetic particulars of experience affect our cells. I'm referencing that little science experiment. Like, if that's how water droplets responded, can you imagine how our complex molecular neurobiological structure would respond? So, presence is the first way to heal. The second particular that can help you heal, even when things feel impossible, even when there's great separation, even when you don't have maybe a lot of access to resources, even when, there's just a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of traumatic flashbacks. There's a lot of stress happening inside of you. The second feature that's going to create so much transformative, just uplifting, empowering, restorative healing journey benefits is to love yourself. Pour love into your being. And the fantastic part about this is it doesn't have to look like any one thing, because it doesn't matter what you do. It literally does not matter what you do. It matters how it makes you feel. Okay? It doesn't matter what you do. It just matters that some part of you feels some sort of vibration of love. That's the only goal here. And so it can literally look like anything. So again, this can be a very flexible thing where no matter what you're doing, no matter what your days look like, no matter what resources you have access to, no matter what other responsibilities you have, you can practice this and create some radically profound transformation from the inside out of your neurobiological applications of consciousness. And it could look like slowing down and breathing deeper and moving slower. Like when you wake up and you go to click on the coffee pot or whatever, when you take steps, instead of just walking and getting to where you're going, you're present with every step. And you notice your foot lifting from the ground. And you notice your foot going back on the ground. And you notice the other foot going up. And you notice that. And when you see a nice moment, like you see your cat curled up on the table, you stop and you just connect with it. And you just The cat is sleeping and it's very peaceful, and I'm looking at this cat that's sleeping on the table. So it might just look like slowing down, okay? It could look like being courageous and being present even when things are really scary or painful. And that would look like practicing that route of presence when things are really tough. So that objective observation and detailed description when things are just feeling really tough. So love could look like courage. Love could look like compassion and giving yourself grace to just be where you are. Like you wake up and you're like, I just can't move today. I just cannot force myself to get out of bed today. Practice love by just being gentle with yourself. Like, I'm so sorry that you don't feel like you can get out of bed today. You know what? I'm going to lay here and I'm just going to be here with all parts of me. It's okay that you can't get out of bed right now. Okay? It's all right. You're allowed to just be where you are. I love you. Let me just be here with you in this place where I can't move. Let me just be here and let me just be gentle with myself. Let me just be here and let me just have compassion. Respond to yourself the way that you'd respond to a friend. If you walked into your friend's bedroom and you're like, come on, it's time to get up, let's start the day. And your friend's like, I really just can't get out of bed. Would you be like, oh my God, seriously? Like, it's just, you lift your body and you get up. It's not a big deal. Like, get over yourself. You got stuff to do. Let's get up. Let's go. I'm tired of your excuses. Get out of bed. No. Not if you're a good friend, hopefully. No, you would be loving. You're like, oh, what's wrong, baby? Let me come curl up in bed with you. I'm so sorry you're feeling that way. It's okay. You can take your time. You are so much more important than doing the dishes or whatever needs to get done. Like, that can wait, okay? You are what's most important. I'm just gonna stay here with you in this bed. It's okay that you can't get up. I'm so sorry that you're feeling like you can't get out of bed. That must be really hard. That must feel really scary. That must be a very tough place to be in. Let me be there with you. And let me just love you in that place. And let me just let you be there in that place without feeling the need to change you. Let me just be here with love and presence. Let me just be here with gentle grace. Let me just be here with unconditional compassion. Okay? So anything that you can do that has any kind of vibration of love. Okay? It might look like having really big, long rituals that you do. And so maybe you go somewhere and you're like, okay, I'm gonna do some chanting exercises and I'm gonna stay here till I can feel myself be in my body. And so you got this space, maybe you're out in nature, maybe you're sitting in your car and things are walled off so no one can see you. You go, you find somewhere, you find a quiet place or a private place and you say, I'm going to do chanting because, by the way, chanting helps to regulate your nervous system. Chanting can help increase the regulation within the autonomic flow, vagus energies, all kinds of stuff. It's really good. So go somewhere and you're like, okay, I'm going to chant until I feel presence with my body. And love in that situation would look like being very patient with yourself. You're not like, oh my God, I'm 5 minutes into chanting and I don't feel more present. This sucks. So it looks like being very patient with yourself. And you're like, you know what? I'm here and I'm just going to be here and I'm going to be present and I'm going to love myself no matter what that looks like. And so maybe you have long rituals that you do as needed or daily or 10 times a day or once a week or whatever you need, whatever that looks like. And you're just like, I'm going to be fully present with this process. And you're like, oh, I am safe, I am safe, I am safe, I am safe. And you do some chanting stuff. And love in that would look like just letting yourself be there. You're not like, oh my God, this sounds weird. I sound funny when I chant. Right? You're not like being hard on yourself or rushed or judgmental or anything. You're just loving yourself. You're just letting love be the only thing that you focus on, okay? And when anything that doesn't feel loving come up, you're like, okay, I recognize that that's just a neurobiological activation of low vibrational frequencies of love within my neurobiological data, but that's cool because it's not who I am and I'm rewiring that. So it's okay. It can just be there and I'm just going to be here with love. It can just be there and I'm just going to be here with love. It can just be there and I'm just going to be here with love. Okay? So anything you can do to pour a vibrational frequency of love inside of you is going to change the game. Love and presence will change the core causalities neurobiologically of what's causing this stuff. Okay? And then the other little thing I want to add here is, specifically we're talking about like a co-conscious approach. It's important to be up here in our observational self. Parts of consciousness are encountering aspects of life experience in the backdrop beyond awareness as neurobiological data becomes activated and projected into subconscious realities. And it's important not to blend with them, or we won't have the power to make decisions consciously. And so our observational self has some superpowers: objective observation, intentional mindfulness, conscious choice, and like an intentional response kind of a thing. There's like 4 little kind of key superpowers. So it's important to kind of work towards harnessing that. So in moments you can be like, okay, can I objectively observe things? And if not, and you can notice that. Just notice it, because even noticing that you're struggling to notice stuff is going to help you get here. Okay? So even noticing that you're struggling to notice stuff is going to help you get up here where you have power. You don't have power in any other part of your brain or your body or your experience. Only in your observational self do you have the power. Okay, so you want to try to get up here into that little watchtower, that little beacon building, I call it. It's a beacon building. It's like a combination between a lighthouse and a watchtower. It's your beacon building where your observational self lives, okay? Your goal is to try and get up here, because a lot of times we're back here and we're like, I'm panicking, I'm dissociated. But what's happening is then we're blending with our parts and we don't have power. We want to get up here and be able to notice our parts within that experience, because then we have a chance to help them. Okay, so in every moment, you want to do this whole presence and love and more presence and more love stuff. And in that process, you want to do that from the space of your observational awareness, who's living up here in your beacon building. Okay, and that represents your prefrontal cortex, that little front part of your brain, which is like the main spot where you actually have an ability to observe and respond to all the stuff that's happening. Okay, and practicing presence and practicing love is going to help you get up here. Okay, and then there's other aspects of personal power, and a big core of it is the conscious directing of your internal energy. Your personal power is in the conscious directing of your internal energy. And you can find out a little bit more about that in the Brain Rewiring Playbook. So please feel free to explore that and a bunch of other healing journey gifts I have for you at kristinwindsor.com/gifts. And that link again is in the video description. Below. The video description. Below. Okay, so you want to hop up here into the beacon building of your brain. Beacon building of your brain, because alliteration. And hang out here in your as your observational self, so you have an ability for objective observation, mindfulness. You can notice things mindfully. It's not just like this automatic blur, but you're being mindful of stuff, or what's happening, intentional response, and conscious choice. Okay, so you want to kind of do all this stuff from up here, and it's a practice. But anytime you practice getting up here, practice is a part of personal power. So even if you can't get up here, just trying to get up here and putting your energetic intention and direction towards trying to get up into your beacon building is going to help you get there eventually. Okay, so even if you can't just hop on up there because things are pretty tough, practice getting up there or trying to reach towards that space. And then every time you practice it, you're planting an energetic seeds that's rewiring your neural network so that it'll be easier to hop up there in your beacon building where you have access to your observational self. Okay? All right. So that is how to embrace the healing journey when things are feeling really, really tough. That's the best starting point for any kind of healing journey, especially when you're in a place of experiencing chronic dissociation and or traumatic flashbacks. Thank you so much for tuning into this Conversations with Kristin. It has been an absolute blessed honor and a sacred privilege to connect with you. Thank you for being here, soul friends, and thank you for being you. I am sending you so much love and light along your everyday healing journey through life. You are so much more than you know. And you have so much more power than you know. And every part of you is unconditionally worthy of everything. Everything, beloveds. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. Thank you for listening to what I have to say. Thank you for taking time to connect. And if you'd ever like to get together through a one-on-one consciousness consulting call, we can dive deeper into the specifics of your own personal healing journey so you have clarity about what's happening and why it's happening. and you have directionality about what to do in response to what's happening in any part of your personal life experience, and you have the empowerment and loving encouragement to do this stuff, to respond to this stuff, so you have total power to rewire your brain, liberate your consciousness, and transform your life experience from the inside out. You can find out more about who I am and what I do, what I offer, and schedule a session with me at kristinwindsor.com. I look forward to connecting with you. It would be a blessed honor to serve as a healing journey guide, beloveds. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. If you liked hanging out, if you got something magical from this, or if you want to just spread a little general positivity and love in the world, please feel free to hit that like and subscribe button. I really do appreciate your support on my channel as I share my healing journey messages. And I will see you again next time. Have a beautiful and blessed day, soul friends. Namaste. The expansive love and light in my consciousness. See and honor the expansive love and light in your consciousness. Have a beautiful and blessed day, soul friends, and I will see you next time.